You know, it's that sensation where it feels like everything is spinning, and because everything's spinning, you can't find your balance, you can't get your balance. Do you ever feel, it's horrible, I know if you've had it, do you ever feel like you are experiencing mental or emotional vertigo? Where the world feels like it is spinning out of control, and because it is spinning so out of control that you cannot find your mental or your emotional balance and well-being, at least for any extended period of time? Or how about, do you ever feel like you're experiencing spiritual vertigo, where your very human personality self, what Ernest Holmes calls the man of the earth, is so involved in what's going on in the world that you cannot find your own sense of center and your own sense of peace and calm and well-being, that deep anchor that's inside of you? You know, I think with all of the craziness that's going on in the world today, it is really easy to feel like we've been knocked off balance. I think it's really easy with all that stuff that's going on in the world, but then with on top of that, we are like bombarded by the news all the time. Every time we turn on our phone, we have this feed of the news that comes on, or every time we get online, the top stories are there, every time you turn on the TV or the radio, and not just once, but it's like this 24-hour news loop that keeps telling you the same stories over and over and over again. We are just bombarded like we've never been bombarded in history before. I think because of that, it's really easy to feel like we feel overwhelmed and to feel off balance and to feel kind of like we've had the wind taken out of our sails. I think we've become, as human beings, really good at feeding our curiosity and really good at feeding our inquisitive minds. And that's one of the reasons we read all those news stories and listen to all of that. I think we've also become really good at entertaining ourselves. All of the handheld devices and games and things we have on our phones and games on the computer and TV shows and movies and all the myriad of things we have to entertain ourselves. But I think we aren't as good at feeding our souls. We aren't as good as doing the stuff that fills us up, that brings us that deep sense of peace and well-being and connection with ourselves. And I think because of we're so good at those other things and not good at feeding our souls, that we feel off balance because of that. We don't quite know what to do with it. With this barrage of this thing we call the news, if you really think about it, it's not really the news, it's just the most horrible things that happen in the world today is what they're talking about, seriously. And so as a result, we lose our equilibrium sometimes, and we feel overwhelmed and anxious and sometimes even feel kind of depressed because we're so out of balance. And then, if that isn't enough to knock us out of balance, then we also live in the society that rewards busyness and that rewards accomplishing and that rewards doing. And so what happens is we spend so much of our time doing those things. We go to work and we do our job, and then we have chores to do at home, and then we have errands to run, and we have to make it to that doctor's appointment, and we have to get the car in to get it serviced, and we have to take the kids to wherever they need to go to, and we have to take care of our spouse or our mother or our child or whoever it is that we feel like we need to help care for. And what happens is we end up feeling exhausted, and we end up feeling depleted, and we end up feeling drained from both of those things. That bombardment and with being so darn busy. We're out of balance. When we are exhausted and depleted like that, it serves no one. It certainly doesn't serve us. And when we are exhausted and depleted, we don't have anything to give. We can't do those things like care for the people in our lives that we love. We can't do those things even like care for the world when we're exhausted or depleted. We can't take care of our family, our loved ones, our spouse, whatever it is. It's kind of like mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. You can't give someone mouth-to-mouth resuscitation if you don't have any oxygen in your lungs, if they're already depleted. You have to take in the oxygen and fill yourself up and fill your lungs up first so that you have some oxygen to give to the other person. And so truly, God created this universe of harmony, this universe of balance. And if you look at it, we see that. We have day and night. The tides come in and the tides go out. We have summer and we have winter, and the moon waxes and it wanes. And we inhale and we exhale, and our heart beats and then it rests. All of that is created in balance. And the essence of that one, that infinite presence, by whatever name you choose to call it, the very essence of it is balance and harmony and ease and peace. And so we have this yearning to be there, to be in that which feels like balance and which feels like peace and ease and well-being. In the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes says, "The Father's house is always open. The latch string is ever hanging out, the door always ajar. But we must enter if we wish to abide within." We have to enter that place that feels like balance and harmony and well-being and peace. We have to choose that. And we have to choose it regularly. We have to choose it daily. It has to be our choice to step in. The Father's house is always open. All the peace that could ever be is already present. But you have to avail yourself to it. All the harmony that ever existed or ever can exist is present and available, but you have to open yourself to it, avail yourself to it, and step into it. Harmony and balance are always present. And so there's a story I'd like to share with you, and it goes like this. God was missing for 6 days. Eventually, the archangel Michael found him resting on the 7th day. He inquired of God, "Where have you been?" And God sighed a deep sigh of satisfaction and proudly pointed downward through the clouds. "Look, Michael, look at what I've made." Archangel Michael looked puzzled and said, "What is it?" "It's a planet," replied God, "and I've put life on it. I'm going to call it Earth, and it's going to be a place of great balance and peace." "Balance?" inquired Michael. "I'm still confused." God explained, pointing to different parts of the earth. "For example, Northern Europe will be a place of great opportunity and wealth, while Southern Europe is going to be poor. Over there, I placed a continent of white people, and over there, a continent of black people." God continued, pointing to different countries. "This one will be extremely hot, while this one will be very cold and covered in ice. Here, the desert is dry, and over here, the jungle is wet. Balance in all things." The archangel, impressed by God's work, then pointed to a land area and said, "What's that one?" "Ah," said God, "that's Washington State, the most glorious place on earth. There are beautiful mountains and rivers and streams, lakes and forests, hills and plains. The people from Washington State are going to be kind and modest, intelligent and humorous, and they're going to be found traveling the world. They will be extremely dependable, hardworking, high-achieving, and they will be known throughout the world as diplomats and carriers of peace." Michael gasped in wonder and admiration, but then asked, "What about balance, God? You said there would be balance." God smiled. "There's another Washington. Wait till you see the epic chaos and numbskulls that I placed there." Really, if we want to experience balance, we have to choose it. No one's going to give it to us. We have to be the choosers of that balance. And so Ernest Holmes says, "No one can give to us but ourselves, and no one can rob us but ourselves." Remember, peace is already present. Balance is already available. Well-being and ease are already here, but we have to choose them. And so in God is that peace, and is that harmony, and is that balance, and is an infinite and abundance of good. We experience having those through our choices, and through our actions, and through where we place our attention. And so the title of my talk today is Fill Her Up. And I'm talking about filling ourselves up and the necessity of filling ourselves up with those things that make us feel peaceful and whole and give us a sense of well-being. Because in order to fully thrive, we must fill ourselves up like that. In order to fully thrive, we must live in balance. That means we must take time to work and be productive and accomplish, and we must take time to rest and to play and to just be. We must take time to express and to speak and to listen and to be in the silence. We must take time to rejuvenate ourselves and refill ourselves and refresh ourselves. It is mandatory for balance. And so as human beings, we long to live in that peace and in that balance and in that harmony because there's something in us that remembers it from whence we came. And so we have this longing to be back there in that place that feels like home inside of us, that place where all is well inside of us. You did not incarnate on this planet to be exhausted and depleted and overwhelmed. That's not why your spirit came here. You did not incarnate on this planet to feel exhausted. You came to this planet to experience the magnificence of life and the magnificence of your own soul here expressing its beauty. You came here on this planet to experience the beauty and the magic and the magnificence of this planet. How beautiful it is. And this magnificence of being in a body. This magnificence of just beingness itself. The thrill and the magic of all of that. You came here to experience joy and to experience love and to discover what those things mean. To discover what it means to care and to share your light and to discover the beauty of your own soul here, living this life. You might have noticed you don't do that when you feel bogged down. Did you notice that? You don't do that when you feel depleted. We don't experience those things. We don't experience that when we are overwhelmed with our own responsibilities. And so there's another story. And it goes like this. Once a king sent his son to learn about the secret of happiness from the wisest man on earth. The lad wandered through the deserts and mountains for several days and inquired from hundreds of people about this wisest man. He finally reached a beautiful castle on a high mountaintop. This was the place the wisest man lived. But to his surprise, he was not like a sage. He saw a hive of activities happening there. Tradesmen came and went. People were conversing in the corners. A small orchestra was playing music. And finally, he saw a table covered with platters of the most delicious foods of this part of the world. The wise man conversed with everyone, and the boy had to wait more than 4 hours to get his turn to meet this wise man. The wise man listened attentively to the boy's curiosity about the secret of happiness. The wise man replied that he didn't have time just then to explain the secret of happiness, so he suggested that the boy visit the palace and look over its beauty and uniqueness in this world and then return to him in 2 hours. He also assigned the boy a task. He handed over a teaspoon to the boy, which had 2 drops of oil in it. The wise man said to the boy, "As you wander around, carry this spoon with you without allowing the oil to spill." The boy began climbing and descending the many stairways of the palace, keeping his eyes fixed on the spoon. After 2 hours, he returned to the room where the wise man was. "Well," asked the wise man, "did you see the Persian embroideries that are hanging in my dining hall? Did you see the garden that it took my master gardener 10 years to create? Did you notice the beautiful parchments in the library?" The boy was embarrassed and confessed that he had observed nothing. His only concern had been to not spill the oil that the wise man had entrusted him. Did you get that? He didn't notice the beauty all around him. He didn't notice the magnificence of life because he was so focused on the task he had to do. Focusing on our responsibilities and our duties and all the things we must do, and focusing all those things that are going on in the world don't allow us to see the beauty that is right where we are. The beauty that is all around us all the time. We cannot do both of those things at the same time. You can't be focused on your tasks, the list of tasks that you have to do, the busyness that you have to do, and be present to the gifts and the beauty and the wonder and the joy of life and of living. We have to choose one and then the other and one and then the other, but we have to choose this one too, the one that fills us up and allows us to just be. When we are focused on the issues of the world and all of our responsibilities, we don't experience that beauty that's all around us. When we focus solely on all of those things that require our attention, we are out of alignment with our own spirit. We're out of alignment with that divine one. We are out of alignment with why we came to this planet in the first place. And you know what? You can't wait until everything's accomplished. And you can't wait until everything is settled in the world. That's like chasing that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It will never arrive. You'll keep chasing it and it keeps getting further away. Everything will never be done and accomplished and finished. You have to choose to pause and rest and play and fill yourself up, even though everything isn't done. So to have harmony and balance and peace and a sense of well-being, it takes our conscious choice to do the things that fill us up and to do the things that rejuvenate us. One is like coming here. You feel filled up when you leave here. Another one is being with people who you love, who are kind and who are caring and who love you back and who are generous. It fills us back up. Another one is reading things or watching things that are inspiring. It gives us balance in our lives. Or spending time in nature, allowing ourselves to be filled back up. You know, we've gone twice to El Dorado Park Nature Center instead of doing church here. And if you remember the first time that we went this year and it rained, and like 30 of you showed up in the rain anyway, which was so amazing. And so we sat by the lake and we looked out and we meditated and we couldn't walk the trails, they were all closed. So we sat and meditated and looked at the rain on the lake and the beauty and got to sit there and get filled back up. And by the end of the time we were there, everybody had this sense of being rejuvenated and refilled and a sense of coming home to ourselves. Oh, there I am because I slowed down enough and unplugged enough to come back home to myself. Took time to unplug and to step out of our responsibilities and to step out of all the things that are going on in the world. What a relief. And then at the end of our time together, we got together in little groups, and I asked everybody the question, what is it that you need to do in your life to create this sense of coming home to yourself again? This sense of balance and peace and being present like you feel right now? And one of the people in my group said that what they really needed to do and wanted to do was to get up every morning and to watch the sunrise from the deck. Instead of getting up and having coffee and doing the other morning routine, instead, he was already up that time of the day to get up and watch the sunrise every day. Somebody else said to go to the nature center more often. It's right in our backyard, and to get to be there. Someone else told me to turn off and step away from their computer. There's all things that we know we can do to create that sense of balance in our lives. Do you remember what your answer was that day? And have you been doing it? And so mine was to go out and spend time in nature. It fills me up and feeds me, and I have been doing that. And one of the things that I do is to go to El Dorado Park Duck Pond and just to walk around the duck pond and to watch the ducks. And there's little baby ducks swimming around the pond this time of year, and there's white egrets making their nests in the trees, and you can see the babies with their funny little feathers, and it's so nice to stop and unplug and to just be. And when I do that, I feel like the weight of my own life gets lifted off my shoulders. The weight of all of my responsibilities that I carry around with me all the time. It feels like a relief, and I feel so grateful. And sometimes I forget to do that. But I'm so grateful every single time that I do it. And so I was reading something online this week, and it was from the Tiny Buddha. And there was a huge list of things we can do to fill ourselves back up and to create balance like that. And so I'd like to share some of them with you. One is to go cloud watching. Lie on your back and relax and watch the sky. Goof around a bit. Schedule in 5 minutes of play several times throughout your day. Punctuate your day with a mini meditation. 1 minute of focused attention on your breathing or awareness of your body as a whole. How about this one? Edit your social media feeds and take out the negative people. Get down and boogie. Put on your favorite music and shake your body. Be still. Sit somewhere green and be quiet for a few moments. Inhale an upbeat smell. Try peppermint or orange. Have a good laugh. Take a quick nap. Use your commute to work as a beauty scavenger hunt and find 5 unexpected beautiful things on your drive. Choose who you spend your time with today. Hang out with the radiators who emit enthusiasm and positivity, and not the drains whose pessimism and negativity robs energy. Stroke a pet. And if you don't have one, borrow one. Get positive feedback. Ask 3 good friends to tell you what they love about you. Make a small connection. Have a conversation with the customer service agent or the person who is making your coffee at Starbucks. Have a self-date. Spend an hour alone doing something that nourishes you. Reading, doing your favorite hobby, visiting a museum or a gallery. Place your phone on airplane mode so that you don't hear pings for an hour or 2 every time you get an email or a text message. Take a home spa. Have a long bath or shower. Sit around in your bathrobe and read magazines. Don't all of those sound delightful? All of those things fill us back up and lend a sense of balance in our lives from our busyness and our doingness. Whenever we have fun, whenever we play, what happens is we become fully present in that moment. We become fully present with whatever is right in front of us that moment. Think about it. It doesn't matter if you're playing ping pong, or if you're laughing with your friends, or if you're riding your bike, or if you're spending time in nature. You become fully present right there. That means everything else just fades into the background. You step out of the past, and you step out of your worry, and you step out of the future, and you step into that moment, present with what is right before you. And right before you are not your duties and are not the problems of the world. When we do that, it's like watering the seeds that already live inside of us, the seeds that know that we are okay. The seeds that already live within inside of us that know that we are taken care of. The seeds inside of us that know that life is good and that all is well. That's what happens when we stop like that. In that consciousness, we open ourselves to grace. In that consciousness, we open ourselves to peace. In that consciousness, we create an opening for even greater good to come into our lives because we're open. And so I invite you just to close your eyes for a moment. And I ask you to ask yourself, what is it that I need to do to create more balance in my life? What is it that I need to do in order to live in greater balance? And to ask yourself, what would I do if I had no responsibilities? And I invite you to open your eyes. That's the invitation of your soul. That's the invitation of your soul to step back into balance and to live the life that your spirit wanted to come here and live. That is the call of your own spirit, your own soul to touch your spirit. Ray said something to us first thing today, before that invocation, to touch your own spirit. That fills us back up. That enables us then to be a beneficial presence on the planet from a place of love and of wholeness and of fullness and of joy. That's who we've come here to be. And so blessings to you as you walk this path of awakening and this path of remembering and this path of living this life of the divine and living this life of your own spirit. Blessings to all of you. And so I invite you to join me right now in an affirmative prayer. And so how good it is just to take our attention from this material world and to turn our attention to the truth of that infinite one that is right here. That one power and that one presence and that one life and that one beingness. That thing we call God, Spirit, the infinite, Brahma. It doesn't matter what we call it. It is this one infinite presence, and it is everywhere presence. That one presence fills all of time and all of space and every corner of this universe with its beingness. All that God is present right here. All that God is present everywhere. All of the peace, all of the wisdom, all of the harmony, all of the good. And so right now I recognize that I am one with this presence, that I am an incarnation of this life and light and good and beauty of the Divine One. Not only am I, but every one of us, each person in this room and each person on this planet and everything around us is this one expressing itself. And so as I recognize that that one is always closer than our very breath, that we live and move and have our beingness within that one, and that it lives and moves and has its beingness within us. I recognize that all that we could possibly need is already available. It is already ours and it is already present. And so today we open ourselves to the good, recognizing that that good is already seeking us. We open ourselves to the balance and to the peace and to the harmony that is the voice of God beckoning us back home. The voice of our own soul that remembers, yes, this is from where I have come, and I carry this with me everywhere I go. And so today, peace is the order of this day. And today, balance and harmony are the law that we live in. And so in our openness, we receive. And in our openness, we make this our living reality. And so how good it is to be living this life of that one divine presence. How good it is to be in recognition of this. And so I speak this word also for our country right now, for every single leader and politician across this planet, every single decision maker, knowing that that absolute intelligence, that absolute wisdom, and that love of the divine right now, and the truth of oneness is the thing that is guiding their choices and their decisions. That God is unfolding itself through them today as perfect choices, as perfect decisions. And so we place our faith and our trust in this intelligence and in this love and in this omnipresence. And so it is in gratitude that I release this prayer into that infinite law of the universe, knowing that it is already done, because we have accepted it and claimed it and opened ourselves to it. And so it is with that that I say, thank you, God, and I release this prayer, and I say, and so it is.
And so it is.